Don't you know, pump it up. You've got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You've got to pump it up. Don't you? Dun, 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 dun. Oh, hey, didn't notice you there. I would expect my singing brought you to believe that the entire crypto market is going insane, when in actuality, when you refreshed, that wasn't the case. And even though my XDC, which I've been telling you guys about, even here in my most latest video, which was about 12 hours ago, is doing pretty good and is up 20% today. It's mostly because of two other things: a massive potential for a crazy crypto pump tomorrow, and the Ex-Coinbase CTO predicting that Bitcoin will hit $1 million in 90 days. But just before we move on, our last video, which was 12 hours ago, hit 750 likes, which is insane. But now I'm addicted, you know? It's like crack. Once you get it, it's the only thing you want to see. So guys, make sure you press that like button, because I honestly believe it's about to get so crazy for crypto holders. I keep seeing people in my comment section telling me to stop or calm down. And you know what I can say to that? Leave, get out, get back in your corner, go back to your basement, because if you don't see what's happening right in front of our eyes, there's no saving you. Right now is by far one of the most bullish periods for crypto that I've seen. Oh, I said bullish so loud I had to take my sweater off. And in this video, I'll explain to you guys exactly freaking why. So again, press that like button and watch this video all the way through. Let's break it down. The banking space is in one of the worst crunches, and yes, I switched shirts again, that we've seen in the last decade. And funny enough, here's the Credit Suisse CEO saying about 5 years ago, Bitcoin is the very definition of a bubble. Now you might look at this and think, why is that so ironic? Because I mean, crypto has crashed a lot throughout the years, right? Take a look at, for example, at the Luna chart and see how crazy the price went down. Ha! Gotcha. Would you be surprised to know that this is not the Luna chart that went down like 99%? No, it's actually the chart of a freaking bank. This is the chart of the First Republic Bank. And they keep telling you that cryptocurrencies are a bubble, right? Just for good reference, the Credit Suisse group is also down 83% over the past 6 months and down 95% over the past 5 years. And again, the repercussions of this we'll see for a very significant amount of time. Because read these news lines, for example. The Saudi National Bank loses over $1 billion on Credit Suisse investment. And as I said, the losses are way bigger than might meet the eye. And it just depends on how governments are going to be picking this up. Like you can see from Reuters here, Switzerland's secretive Credit Suisse rescue rocks global finance. I mean, the exact details of it still remain yet to be seen. But trust me when I say that all over the world right now, they're trying to figure out how to stop this entire system from collapsing. Take a look at this headline from a couple hours ago. The US explores measures to guarantee all bank deposits if crisis grows. This is finally a reassuring message. For the last couple of days, it's only been, well, we don't know how to do it. We don't know how to fix it, and we have faith, which we'll talk about later in this video. But this is finally a strong message, kind of along the likes of Balaji, who basically had a very strong message explaining why things are going to collapse and why Bitcoin, for that reason, has a very high probability of going to about $1 million freaking dollars in the next 2.5 or so months. Again, he took a bet. I'm not just talking about the fact that he just said, hey, it's gonna get to $1 million bucks. No. He actually put his hard-earned money on it by betting $1 million with somebody. And you might straight off the bat think this is insane. Let me give you two main thinking points though. Thinking point number one. He calls out hyperinflation and the possibilities for that and how quickly things could move. And some good examples are of, for example, Hungary here, where it only took 15 hours for prices to double when the crisis came around. And it kind of goes on like this, where a lot of countries, indeed, let me actually show you guys the full list here, had a lot of trouble. Oh, and somebody actually has an even better list right here. There was a lot of trouble in paradise for a lot of different countries. You can see here, Germany, 29.5% monthly inflation. And in theory, Bitcoin's price only needs to go up 34x, so about let's say 3,500%. And so from that perspective, with the dollar devaluation, which we've already seen, it's really not that wild. But just let that marinate for a second, let that sink in, together with the fact that they keep calling Bitcoin a bubble when in reality, all these banks are not more stable. Let this sink in for a little second. You have people saying Bitcoin will still hit $10,000 this year, and others calling for 100 to $1 million this year. I'm not too proud to say I don't have a clue as to what's going to happen with Bitcoin's price, but this chart is difficult to ignore, and these are the Bitcoin month or yearly returns since 2010. I just want you guys to quickly compare this with the banking chart that I showed you earlier. Again, I put it into perspective for you, 2010, or let's make it even better, 27. From 2007 on forward, the Credit Suisse price is down 96.15%. If you look at the chart, it's basically negative every single year. Vice versa though, or opposite with Bitcoin, because almost every single year is in the crazy green with crazy percentages. And even though obviously as more and more money comes into this system, it's going to be harder to gain, the opposite in theory is also true for how difficult it is for a currency to devalue the more money is inside of it. And so if such a heavy measure or such a heavy action were to take place, the consequences of it would be vastly great as well. Anyway, you have to understand that from a macroeconomical perspective, things are just wild right now. Take a look at this. Amazon firing 9,000 employees a little while after they also filed 14,000 employees. I don't know when. I remember that headline not too long ago. And I have to come in and face reality here for a second and just notice. It's funny how we're talking about $1 million freaking dollars per Bitcoin, but in reality, we're getting stuck at this $28,000 barrier, because that's literally what's happening right now, guys. We've hit this $28,000 mark so ridiculously many times over the last couple of years. It's the final barrier. It's the crucial barrier. It's the most important barrier. I honestly would say that the next additional barrier as big as this one is going to depend on when exactly we start to pump, but it's going to basically be this trend line that we've been building from 2020 all the way throughout 2022. And since that got broken, I believe that's just part of the cycles, as it will get back above there. But at first, that might be a little bit of a resistance point, similarly to the 200 weekly moving average, which we've seen being resisted at multiple times before. Again, depending on where we end this week though, this could be the first confirmation candle after a breakout above the 200 weekly moving average, which sets the precedent for some crazy gains to come in the near future. And again, guys, the FOMC meeting is tomorrow, and this could basically change everything, because we could see an insane pump just because of this. I know it could dump as well, specifically because we're at this target range right now, but it's such a coincidence. Right now, we're at the toggle point for crazy gains in Bitcoin or a nice little dip. And then exactly while we're at that specific toggle point, the FOMC meeting comes. As again, we have ourselves this meeting tomorrow in 1 day from now. And of course, guys, I'll be live streaming it. But also I'll be announcing a $1,000 giveaway during that stream. For a second, I forgot if it was $100 or $1,000. It's a $1,000 crypto giveaway. I'll be announcing it in the stream tomorrow, so make sure that you join the stream tomorrow. I don't know the exact time, but it will be about an hour or so, or about 45 minutes. I think an hour before the FOMC meeting starts. And we'll probably be there for about 2 hours or so, because at half an hour afterwards, there's usually a very interesting chat. And usually we watch Jerome Powell speak. Anyway, one thing that's noticeable about this right here, again, guys, if you're enjoying all this insight, I try to put more and more focus into my videos. I have a new research team, which caught up with the XDC situation. I sit down and try to edit better. I try to make sure it's a better story. Make sure you press that like button. It is so greatly appreciated. Anyway, one thing that becomes interesting is that these percentages have changed a whole lot since I covered it a couple of days ago. Right now, the probability following this website, the analysts, of no rate hikes is, about 16%, whereas a 0.25 is about 83%. It's changed a lot from a couple of days ago, where the probability of no increase was 55 and the probability of a 0.25 was 45. So whereas before, the majority of people were thinking that nothing was going to happen, probably because of all this banking turmoil, they're still expecting, measures need to be taken with a strong fist. And that's quite peculiar, because a little while ago, I think somewhere late yesterday, the White House said President Biden still has confidence in the Fed Chair Jerome Powell. And I guess that might be actually in actuality to offset what we're seeing right here, where at first there was a lot of confidence their policy was already enough. Right now it showcased that that's probably not enough. And Biden then coming in to quickly say, hey, you know what? Regardless of what they're doing, we still support it. Yeah, just know that the central bank is not sitting still, guys. It's an extremely stressful week for them right now, and they're going through all these thoughts, all these different meetings, all these different policies to try to make the system not collapse and keep the dollar as liquid as possible. Again, what's being explored and what's being explained right now, the Fed circumvented the debt ceiling to borrow billions for failed banks, and this right here, the US exploring measures to guarantee all bank deposits if the crisis grows, like I said earlier. It's just massive amounts of panic right now, and we're honestly not too far away from just an entirely crazy collapse. Balaji is going on the complete one side of saying, hey, I'm completely convinced it's going to absolutely crash, worse than we've seen in 2008. And so I'm betting $1 million basically that it will go from $25,000 to $1 million, which is basically him putting $25,000 on the line still. On the opposite side, he's holding this bet with James Medlock, who has to put $1 million on the line, which he did, to state that within the next 90 days, Bitcoin will not hit $1 million. Again, the main premise was one guy says there will be hyperinflation, things are about to get crazy, and one guy saying, no, hyperinflation is not going to happen, we are going to save ourselves, and Balaji is just trying to back up his claims with $1 million. But the main premise of what he's been saying is no, the US and the US dollar are screwed. Or rather, the entire banking system is screwed. But yeah, that's a story for another day. Hopefully, you guys all enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you press that like button and subscribe because tomorrow we're doing a very interesting live stream with another huge giveaway too.